interesting. Well, the Kroll bond rating agency was formed after the recession with the goal of restoring trust in credit ratings.
Yep.
How does Kroll avoid conflicts of interest or pressures that some critics feel can skew the credit ratings?
Yep. You know, it's interesting because when Jules Kroll founded Kroll Bond Ratings, his initial business plan was to try and set it up as an issuer pay agency.
Okay.
Not an issuer pay, sorry, an investor pay rating agency.
Okay.
But what he discovered over time is that because the bonds trade not only in the primary market but the secondary market, one, investors did not want to pay. Two, in a lot of instances, investors did not have the financial means to pay. They were concerned, for example, about the free rider syndrome. If somebody buys something in a secondary market trade,
Sure.
why do they get the rating for free when whoever bought it in the primary market had to pay for it? So he abandoned that plan pretty quickly because he discovered that it wasn't going to be viable for running a business. It's interesting also because what people don't realize is that the investor pay model is not free of conflicts. So, for example, the investors that are probably the primary users of ratings, some of the smaller investors that don't have a cast of thousands doing the analysis and don't have access to tools like TREP or Bloomberg or Reese or CoStar. Those are the folks that probably rely the most, if not on the conclusions of the rating agencies, definitely on the pre-sale reports. Those investors, certainly exert a lot less power potentially than the PIMCOs or the BlackRocks of the world.
Sure.
Investors that are long paper don't want downgrades because it impedes the value, impairs the value of their holdings. And so that becomes a situation where an investor might actually have a reason to try and exert pressure on rating agencies to not engage in downgrades.
Got it.
So basically, what do? The focus, rather than finding the perfect payer model, which I think is very difficult to do, barring turning rating agencies into public utilities.
Sure.
Or government agencies, is to just try and figure out ways to best manage the conflicts.
Okay.
And there have been provisions that have been put in place to do that. For example, separation of commercial activity from credit ratings or
Okay.
analytic activity.
Sure.
Some more effective than others.
Sure.
But I think that for a small rating agency, really, the biggest impediment to falling prey to pressure to give more favorable ratings is the reputation risk. When you're a small agency and you're trying to build a reputation as the new kid on the block, you really are the underdog. You have to jump 10 feet higher than everybody else, and having a headline in the press about doing something wrong or succumbing to pressure or getting it wrong could really be the end of your business. What's been remarkable to me is looking at the amount of coverage, press coverage, and fumbles that the large incumbents have made.
Interesting.
Because really in any other business they would be out of business. But I think because the incumbents are so deeply entrenched in the system,
Sure.
it's very hard for them to go away
Interesting.
without there being very widespread consequences.
Interesting. Okay. It's fascinating stuff. We could probably go on for another couple of hours, but thank you very much for joining us.
Absolutely, anytime.
Really interesting.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us. This has been Andrew Benioff for Lenrock and the Lenrock blog. Look forward to our next interview.